Hundreds of sick and dirty children without their parents, and inconsolable toddlers in the care of other children. That was the report made by a group of investigators of the Department of Homeland Security Office of the Inspector General, after surveying 5 detention centers and 2 border posts in the Rio Grande Valley in Texas on the second week of June. The report, however, was made public by July the 2nd. It was just one out of many reports made by different kinds of sources that spoke of the extremely hard conditions endured by the asylum-seeking families that surrender to Border Patrol and get separated in the southern U.S. border.
You gotta imagine, this is a huge, long journey that people take. They face being raped, being robbed, being abducted. Once they get to the border, a lot of them have not even had decent food. They haven't even slept. So then they have to be jailed. And we have to be clear with our message. These families are not under criminal detention. They are not under criminal detention. So why are we treating them worse than criminals?
This is Eddie Chavez Calderon, a campaign organizer with Jews for Justice. He works coordinating relief for the asylum seekers that are released.
Once they got through, they have to be jailed, drink unsanitary water, barely have any food. When they come out, they're staggering. They ask you, where am I? Can I call my family? The kids are so malnourished. It just breaks your heart. You look at their little feet and you see these blisters that ICE could have provided medicine for, and they didn't. Kids are coming out with colds because in the detention center it's so cold to try to suppress those viruses, but as soon as they come out to the Phoenix heat, everything comes alive and these kids are so sick. These moms, you see these moms that are nursing, that are so malnourished. It just breaks your heart to see the status of how people come out.
On Monday, July the 1st, Congress members visited the Clint Detention Center. There they saw extreme conditions endured by detained immigrants. These facilities are not prepared to host the large numbers of people that have surrendered at the border claiming asylum. The very same day, ProPublica aired a report uncovering racist and cruel remarks made by Border Patrol officers in a closed Facebook group, including digital illustrations suggesting the rape of Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez by President Trump. This caused enormous tension among the delegation and the guards. Even more so after Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez began tweeting an Orwellian scene.
After I forced myself into a cell with women and began speaking to them, one of them described their treatment at the hands of officers as psychological warfare, waking them up at odd hours for no reason, calling them whores, etc. Tell me what about that is due to lack of funding. Now I've seen the inside of these facilities. It's not just the kids, it's everyone. People drinking out of toilets, officers laughing in front of members of Congress. I brought it up to their superiors. They said officers are under a lot of stress and act out sometimes. No accountability. And to these CBP officers saying they felt threatened by me, they were literally discussing making a GoFundMe for an officer who attacked me at my tour. They confiscated my phone and they were all armed. I am 5'4". They're just upset I exposed their inhumane behavior.
Representative Madeline Dean wrote,
"Just left the first CBP facility. The conditions are far worse than we ever could have imagined. 15 women in their 50s and 60s sleeping in small concrete cells. No running water, weeks without showers, all of them separated from their families. This is a human rights crisis."
She also wrote,
"We were met with hostility from the guards, but this is nothing compared to their treatment of the people being held. The detainees are constantly abused and verbally harassed with no cause, deprived physically and dehumanized mentally every day. This is a human rights issue."
Arizona State Representative Isela Blanc for the 26th District was not surprised at all.
It is telling, though, when you have Congress people visiting a detention center and ICE agents or the Customs and Border, whatever we want to call them, being their authentic selves in those moments, imagine who they really are when people are not looking. It's frightening.
Family units are separated for processing and eventually released from custody until they have to appear on immigration court. According to the Department of Homeland Security, the court's backlog have reached 900,000 immigration cases, out of which 370,000 are asylum cases. In 2018 alone, 24,000 minors were apprehended. Over the last year, there was a 269% increment on apprehended families. This amounts to 136,000 family members seeking asylum, which, coupled with Donald Trump's family separation policies, had turned the process into a real human rights emergency. In southern border states, especially in Texas, an increase of the number of released families has been reported, as processing centers keep getting more and more overcrowded. There is a massive flow of people released from detention, people who need help finding their families, or even getting near the courts they have to appear at.
We provide food, we provide various other donations like shampoo, toothbrushes, toothpaste, different little snacks, diapers, baby wipes, everything you can think of.
Jewish for Justice is a small group that coordinates assistance for a group of local churches and organizations, which help migrant families released from detention by ICE. Many times, the asylum seekers have to go to different cities to reunite with their families. So these institutions provide with shelter, a place to clean up, recover, and a bus ticket. This is Rabbi Shmuley Yanklowitz, head of the organization. He has garnered nationwide support from members of the Jewish community who keep pouring donations to assist these asylum-seeking families.
We know that the treatment in the detention center is awful. We're hearing that they're only being served white bread and ground beef. We're hearing that the temperature is uncomfortable. We're hearing that they don't have adequate food. We're hearing they're not getting any medical attention, right? We're hearing that they're staying too long in this place. We're hearing that they're stripping them of all their belongings, even their shoelaces. We know that it's awful inside these detention centers. And the main thing we're asking for right now is medical attention. No more deaths inside detention centers.
Eddie Chavez Calderon knows by experience how hard the journey is.
But I came here at 4 years old on the back of my mom. She strapped me to her back and we crossed, exactly like a lot of these families have. If I didn't have that opportunity, I can only imagine where I would be. And it's that thing again. It's that opportunity to just succeed here. That's all they want. They just want an opportunity to work, an opportunity to raise their children. That's what everybody just wants.
How many days you walk?
It took me and my mother about 7 days before we were apprehended by Border Patrol and then placed in a detention center. It was 7 hard days. It was intense. Being a toddler, I don't have much memory of visionaries, but I remember feelings, I remember scents, I remember the heat, I remember my mom's unwillingness to stop because she would just keep saying, we're almost there, we're gonna make it, we're gonna be there. You got this, come on, let's go. And she had a baby on her back. She was young. I think she was only like 25 when she came.
Do you have memories of the detention center?
Oh yeah, I remember how cold it was. I remember that there were so many other people with us. And it was a detention center that was fit for us. But in one room, there was a lot of people that didn't even fit. There's no blankets. The floor was concrete. Think of that. You've been walking for all this time. You have not slept. And you're put in a cell with other people. And good luck. It was horrible.
In the Homeland Security internal memo, we can see not only very telling pictures of the detention centers, but there are also a number of astounding facts gathered by Jennifer Costello, Acting Inspector General. 88 males held in a cell with a maximum capacity of 41, some signaling prolonged detention. One man held up a handwritten sign saying, "Help, 40 days here." Most single adults had not had a shower in CBP custody, despite several being held for as long as a month. Children at the Fort Brown station did not have access to showers and had to sleep on concrete floors. As far as back as May, Homeland Security investigators found similar conditions. There have been a number of security incidents, which has forced some of the personnel to carry their weapons inside holding facilities. This is not normally the case. Border Patrol agents and staff feared a riot, some even called it a time bomb. The fact that these processing facilities are operating under extreme conditions was discussed in Congress by Acting Homeland Security Secretary Kevin McAleenan on June 11, 2019 before the Senate Judiciary. The House assigned $4.6 billion for border protection, and while much resources are needed, many members of the House were concerned about the way the money will be spent by the Trump administration.
Right now, for a long time, up until this administration, we could rely on our federal government to at least protect basic human rights. And those protections at the federal level are slowly disappearing with the current administration.
In the 1930s in Germany, they had a section in the newspaper listing any crime a Jewish person did. We see the same thing with immigrants today. Immigrants as rapists, as gangsters, as mobsters. We have to be careful of this type of scapegoating against any population. We see it against Jews and we see it against immigrants today. We know that many are crossing the border simply because they want a better life, but others are crossing because they're fleeing a bad situation. They're fleeing a situation where that they don't want their children to be in.
It's very easy to dehumanize people and put a number and a name, right? These criminals, look at these hundreds of thousands of caravans. But if I tell you, this is Juan and his daughter, Maribel. Maribel almost died yesterday. Why did she almost die? Because she was severely dehydrated. Why is her father here? Because his wife was killed by MS-13 and he was threatened and they were going to kill his daughter. Tell people those stories.
The real news reached to the Department of Homeland Security for comment, but by the closing of this issue we got no reply. Stay tuned with us for more on the issue.